Hello and welcome to another session. So in this session, we'll talk about the DDL command called alter. Okay. So before we talk about alter, so let's revise some of the things that we learned on the select statement, right? So I have a select statement here, select star from employee. Star, as I mentioned earlier, would mean that we'll retrieve all the columns of this employee table. So if I go ahead and execute this, you will see that all the fields, employee ID, employee name, salary, department number, city, all of them have been fetched. Now, if I want to fetch only few of the columns, let's say I want just employee ID and name, so I can mention this column name separated by comma. So I will say select employee ID from employee ID, comma employee name from employee table, and then if I execute this, I will only get the columns that I have chosen, right? So employee ID and employee name. Now, if you look at this particular field, right, employee ID, so it is displaying the heading, you can see it as employee ID, right? So you can change that. So you can basically say, let me, I copied this. So let's say employee ID. If I want it to display something like ID, so I can say as. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, employee ID, you display it as ID, right? So instead of calling it as employee ID, I'm calling it as ID. This is called aliasing, right? So this is basically aliasing. Okay, so double dash basically says this is a comment. So for readability purpose, we usually do that. So as you can see here, right, we no longer have employee ID, we have ID. The same thing we can do for table as well. So we can alias the table as well. So now let me just copy this. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this employee as E. So now I can refer to the employee table as E. So now what I can do is like I can, let's say, E dot. So if I put E dot, it will show all the attributes that are for this particular employee, right? For this particular table. So because now E refers to the table employee, so I can say E dot city. I can do the same thing here, E dot employee ID and E dot E name. And then I can execute this and I'll get the results. All right. So this is one another thing. Now imagine, let me just copy this here. Imagine that you have employee ID and employee name, right? You want to basically, let me first execute this. So here you can see employee ID is in one column, employee name is another column. So if you want to put both of this into a single column, right? If you want to show it as single column, you can do is you can concatenate it. So how do you concatenate? You can put this one double pipe and then it will basically give you the result. So now what I'll do is let me execute this. So if I execute this, you will see that, see, the employee ID and employee name, all they got concatenated. Now you can see this name, right? Employee ID, a pipe and employee name. So it doesn't look good. So what I can do is I can basically say alias this and I can call it as EMP and now I can execute this again. So now it will look better. Again, so here's another thing, right? So employee ID and employee name, there is no space. So let's add some space. And again, we'll use a concatenator. So employee ID concatenate space. So what I'm saying is, hey, you first display employee ID, then join concatenate and then add space, then you add employee name. And now if I execute this, you will see that there is employee ID space employee name, right? So these are some of the things that we can do. Instead of space, you can also put any character. So let's put a single dash. Now let's execute this. So you can see here 5 dash J 30 dash second. Okay, so these are some of the simple basic SQL commands, select commands that you can do. Okay. Okay. Now that is taken care, let's come back or start our discussion on alter command. So alter is a DDL command and it is used to alter the structure. Okay. So the structure basically tells you what columns you have, what is the data type, right? So for this employee table, we know we created the employee table. We have employee ID, employee name, job, city, salary, and other things, right? So how do you know if you have not created this table, how do you know like what is the structure of this table? For this, we have a command called desk. So you can say disk or describe. So both are same. Disk is basically the short version and describe is basically the longer version of it. So you say describe and which table you want to describe. So I'm going to describe this employee table. Okay. Now I will execute this. Now it will give you the description. Now you can see here, right? So it says employee ID. This is a number 2, e-name, varchar 2 of 15, salary is again a number 4. So up to 4 digits. Department is again number of 2. City, varchar 2 of 10. Okay. So it has given you the description or the schema, right? Now what we'll do is we can make some alterations to this table, right? So let's say we are going to add a new column. Okay. So we have employee ID, we have employee name, we have salary, department number, city, right? So we have all this. Now let's add another column. Okay. So let's say we have department number, right? So we have department number. So let's say we add a column age. Okay. Now how do we do it? We use it alter command. So we'll say alter. We want to alter the table. What is the table name? Employee. So this is the syntax alter table, alter name. What do you want to do? You want to add a new column. So you will use add. Okay, and open this bracket. Now you are saying that, hey, I'm going to alter the table employee and I'm going to add a new column. So what is the column name and what is the data type of the column? So number of 2. Okay, so now I'm going to go with, I am going to execute this. You can see that table employee alter. Now if you go back to the description, you will see that a new column is being added at the end. So see age 2, right? Now if you go back and select this data, right? So you have a new column added, you already have a data existing, right? So all the other, we have around we have few records that is already existing. So what happens when you add a new column, correct? So let's see. So when you execute this, so you will see that all the data is here. Age is all null because we have not inserted any data into the age, right? So it by default it will always be null. Okay. So now let's do one thing. Okay. Now let's insert one record. Okay. So insert into employee emp ID. So all right. Emp ID, employee name, salary, department number, city, and age. We will say values. So let's give the values. So employee ID, let's say 12. Employee name is Joshua. Salary, let's say 2300. Department number 10. City, New York. And age would be 22. All right, so this is the employee data. Now let me go ahead and execute this. Now the data is inserted. So let's go back and execute our select statement to see what if we have the data. So you will see that we have Joshua added here and the age is 22, right? So we basically added a new column and we basically what we did is we basically inserted the data into the new column, right? So this is about adding the new column. Now, what if we want to modify the column? All right. So let's say we have this table, right? So let's say let's look at the description of this table, right? So let's say this e name, we are saying varchar 2 of 15, correct? Now then we realize like, hey, you know what? 15 is maybe too low for us, and there are names which goes beyond 15, and we want to kind of increase it, right? So we want to increase it. So what you can do is you can use the alter command to modify it. So the existing field. So let's modify that. I'm going to use alter table employee. I'm going to use modify. What I'm going to modify, I'm going to modify ename. Now instead of varchar2 of 15, I'm going to put 20. All right. So see, the data is available. You are increasing it, so that should not be a problem. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. The table is altered. Now, if I go back and execute this describe table, you will see that this particular field employee name now has varchar2 of 20. So that is the alteration we have made. So we have basically modified the existing column. So what else we can do, right? So we have added a new column. We have modified the existing column, and let's do one more thing, right? Let's rename a column. So we have employee ID. Let's rename it to ID. How do we do that? So again, we use the alter command employee. Now for adding, we did add. For modifying, we did modify. For rename, obviously rename, right? So this is the fun part. So rename what you want to rename. I want to rename a column, correct? I want to rename the column. Which column I want to rename? I want to rename employee ID to what name you want to rename? To ID. So I want to rename column employee ID to ID. This looks like a simple English language statement, right? So that is how good the SQL is. All right, so the column is now renamed. So if I go back and describe, you will see that instead of employee ID, I have ID. Cool. So we have renamed the column. Okay. Now, now let's say I want to drop a column. Okay, let's say I want to drop age and department number. Okay, I just want to drop two columns. So age and department number are no longer valid for me or no longer useful for me. So I'm going to drop this. So basically, drop basically means you're just removing this data and also removing this column. So there is no data, there is no structure. So that is the concept of drop. Okay, so alter table plus employee drop. What do you want to drop? I want to drop so not ID. ID is very important for us. So I want to drop department number. Okay. Now, if you execute it, it will drop the department number, but I want to drop more than one. So I have to give it comma and then I'll say age. So now what will happen is it will drop this table. Sorry, it will drop the columns. It will drop department number and age. Okay. Right? Table is altered. If you do a describe, you should not see, you only see four columns, right? So the remaining columns, employee ID, department number, age are no longer available. So you can do a select star as well. You will find that employee department number and age are no longer available, right? So this is how you can drop the column. Okay. All right. So this is good. Now, what else we can do? So think about other scenarios, right? What we can do. Okay. Now let's look at the modifying the data. Okay. Sorry, modifying the column. Okay. So let's look at this data, right? So here, let's say we have this data, right? Uh, let's try something. So here, let's go to the describe. If I do a describe, it will give me the description of the fields, right? So I see that ename is varchar2 of 20. Okay. So let's try to bring from 20 to 50. Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay. So now I'm going to use the alter command, alter table, employee, modify, right? So I can say, where is it? Ename varchar2 of 15. Okay. So let's execute this. So we have seen from 15 to 20, it is possible. So from 20 to 15, right? So it is altered. So there is no issue. Why? Because we don't have anything where we are actually using more than 15. So that is fine. Okay. Now let's insert some data, which is basically 15. Okay. So let's have this insert into this table. So we don't have department number and age, right, at this point. Okay, let's call 13. Okay, now what I'm going to do is Alexander. So how many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so we have exactly 15. Okay, don't worry about the other records. So Alexander Jones, e-name, salary. Then we need to remove this because we have dropped these fields, columns. So this is good. Now I'm going to execute this. Okay, what happened here? Invalid identifier. So there is a mistake that we have done. Oh, okay. I think we have changed this to ID, right? We changed the column name to ID. So good. I'm not going to edit this out. So we need to understand the errors and fix it on the go. Okay. So one row is inserted. So if I go back and check the data, let's see Alexander Jones somewhere here. Yeah. So now Alexander Jones is 15, right? So 15 15 characters. So now let's try to alter this. So from 15, I have to bring it to 12. Will it throw an error or not? Okay. So let's see. Good. Cannot decrease the column length because some value is too big, right? So this is a problem. So you can go from low to high, but you cannot go from low to high to low if you already have the data, right? So this is one thing. Okay. Now let's look at one more case. Like we now whatever modification that we did, right? If you observe, the data type is same. So we are trying to change the data type. I mean, we are using the same data type varchar2, and whether we are increasing the length or we are decreasing the length, right? But what if we do something different? Okay, so let's say that we will change the data type itself. Okay, so let's look at the description, right? So if you look at the description, I have ID number, ename varchar2, salary number, city is varchar2. Okay, now let's add another field. Okay, so let's say alter table employee modify. I'm going to say department number varchar2 of 12. Okay, or let's say varchar2 of 5. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to execute this. Oh, we are planning to add, right? So it should be add, not modified. So it says invalid identifier because it is trying to check DNO, but DNO is no longer, DNO is not available. We use the modify instead of add. So we should be using add. So add is for adding a new identifier. So it is created. If I go back and describe this table, I'll see this DNO is there. Okay. All right. So now, if I do a select of this, right, select star from employee, I you will see that the department number is there, and there is no value in all of this. Correct. Now, what I'll do is I am going to alter this table. Employee, alter table, employee, modify department number to number of 2. Okay. Now I'm changing the data type. Now, if you execute this, will there be an issue here? See, there is no issue, right? So it is altered peacefully because there is no data. Okay, so there is no data. See, when you're making the changes, it actually looks at the data, what data it has, and what you're trying to change. Because it has no data, it has no problem in changing anything, right? Now, the question is, what if it has data? Then what? How it will act, right? So let's do this. So I'm going to change it back. I'm going to modify it back to the varchar 2, and I'm going to execute this. All right. Now let me insert some data, right? Insert into employee. Okay, let me just copy it from somewhere. Okay, I think we made a lot of changes to the table, so let's better to type it. Employee ID, name. What else we have? Okay, let's do a select star and pick it from there. Okay, so I have ID, name, salary, right, city, and DNO. Okay, now values. I'll say 22. The name is Matthew. Salary is 4,500. City, let's say Mumbai. Department number. This is a varchar, right? So let's say 10. Okay, now I'm going to execute this. The row is executed. Now let me just modify this again. So we currently, the statement, the description is that, where's the description? Okay, if you look at this, right? Um, this is varchar 2. Now what we are trying to do is we're trying to change it to number. Okay, and we have a data in this, right? So you look at the employee table, there is one record which has this department number, like there is some data. So what will happen if there is data? Okay, so let's execute this. Yeah. I think the select statement got executed. So let me select this, the alternate command, and let me execute this and see. Okay, see, there is an error, right? What does it say? Column to be modified must be empty to change the data type, right? So earlier we changed the data type and we did not have any issue because we did not have any data in that column. Now, once we added the data, then we are not able to change the data type. So how do you make changes to this, right? So this is classic use case, and this is a good interview question as well. So interview might ask, hey, I have a data, so I have this particular column and I have created this as varchar or ID. Then later on I realize that this is not the right ID, this is not the right data type, and now I want to change the data type. But the problem is that I already have the data in this data type, and the data is already there in the field, in the column. Now Oracle is not allowing me to change it. It is giving me this error, column to be modified must be empty. So how do I change it, right? So for this there are few steps. So the first and foremost thing, from this error you would understand that you need the data to be empty for us to make the change. Agree? Right. So there are few steps that we need to do. Okay, so the first thing that what we will do is we are going to add a temporary column. Okay, now see, this is the department number. We want to modify it to 2. So what we will do is let's copy this. Now we will create a temporary column called department number underscore temp. Now instead of modify, I'm going to add this column. Okay, so now I will execute this. Table is altered. So let me execute the select statement. So now if you look at this, right? So see, I have department number, I have department number temp. Okay, so let's also execute the description. So department number is varchar 2, department number temp is 2. So we have the column that we need with the right data type. So we need the data type of number of 2. So we have it. But what is missing here? The data is missing here, right? So we need to have the data. So what we have to do is we have to copy the data from here to here. Okay, so that is the next step. So how do we do that? We can use an update statement because we are updating the data, right? So the department number temp does not have the data, so we are updating this data. So you use update statement. Update employee set what you want to update, department, this column you want to update. To which value you want to update? I want to update the value of department number. Okay, so I want to update the value of department number to department number 10. So now let me go ahead and execute this. See, rows are executed. Now I go back to the employee table. When I execute this, you will see that, look, we have the data, right? So now what do we have? Let me go back and do a description. So we have a department temp, we have the data, we have the right table. Sorry, we have the right data type. So now what? We don't need this column, right? So you can basically go and drop this column, right? Because we already have this column here, which has all the data of department number, and it has a right data type. Now we can do is we can basically drop this table. Sorry, drop this column, correct? So how do you drop this? Alter table employee drop, right? So you can say drop and department number. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. Okay. We have encountered an error missing keyword. Okay, so I need to put this here. Okay, now it is dropped. Now let's go back to the employee, or before that, let's go back to the description. Now, what we have, department number, we have number 2, and we have the data. So there's one last thing, right? This is like department number temp, right? So it's better to kind of rename it as well. So what I can do is I can do alter table employee. Now, what we need to use here, we need to use rename. Okay, column. What is the column name? Department number temp, and we want to rename it to department number. So if I go back and execute this, see the table is altered. Let's go back and throw the description. Now you will see that the department number is 2, right? So we change from varchar to 2 and we still have the data. So you can go back and check the employee table and you will see that the data is available, right? So this is how you can modify the data type when you have the data in it. So for any changes, for if you want to modify the data type, you for that column should not have any data. So you need to create a temporary column with, and you need to copy the data to the temporary column. You need to have the right data type to the temporary column. And once you have the data and the data type is there, then you can drop the original column and rename the temporary column to the original column, right? So that is what we do in real world. Okay, so this is about the alter commands. Alter commands are used to alter the structure, and we have looked at we looked at how we can add a column, how we can drop the column or multiple columns, how you can alter the column, right? You can you can change the data type, similar data types, no issues. Uh, Different data types, we have seen that there is an issue when there is a data. When there is no data, there is no issue, right? So all these things we have seen, and hopefully like this is clear to you guys, and I'll see you guys in my next class.